And we're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Flippin' Hippos YouTube channel. Today is Friday the 13th, which is a sacred holiday in my home. Let's take care of some housekeeping while we wait for some folks to come on in. These aren't my notes. Hold on. I need my eyes. Hi, my name is Star, and I do live shows, and I am so professional and know what I'm doing. Welcome to the Amateur Hour. I just pulled up my notes for last week's live show. Hey, Doug, welcome in. Welcome in. Okay, so housekeeping. If you're new to the channel or you haven't already, please subscribe. Help us feed a hungry hippo. Those guys back there eat a lot. I'm telling you. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up as you're listening to me today and join our Facebook group, Flippin' Hippos Reseller Pod. Okay, so all of that said, I'm going to say hi to the folks that are here. Robert dropped in. I'm not sure if he's here. Robert usually tries to drop a comment just to support the channel, even if he can't make it to the show. Rhonda and Amelia are here. Are you both here? That is a mother and daughter team, guys. They've been watching us for a long time. Dawn is here. Did I say hi to Doug? Hi, Doug. Ma and Posh Closet Collectibles. That's Della there, guys. Hey, Della. Nice to see you in the chat. Michelle is here. And Dawn again. Okay, so that said, we're going to kind of riff. I see Miss Tempting Treasures. We're going to riff for a little bit while we wait for some folks, and hopefully we have the right notes up this time. Hey, happy Friday the 13th, Mandy. So before we get into hey, everybody coming in. Before we get into the Friday the 13th show, I got something in the mail. Make sure I'm not showing anybody's addresses. I got something in the mail from my friend Donna. And she sent me two. And I think the idea here is for me to keep one of these on my desk with all of my other Baby Yodas as a decoration, and then to eat one. It's the chocolate ball. It's a Baby Yoda marshmallow inside. So I'm not going to eat anything on a live show. I'm not going to do that. Gosh, what could go wrong? Not eating anything on a live show. I can't even use tape and bubble wrap on a live show. Hi, Tammy. Welcome in. But what I may do is record myself actually unboxing one of these and taking a bite and tasting it. And then I can edit it and put it up as a reel on Instagram. Isn't he cute? So cute. I have so many Baby Yodas, so he'll fit right in. Thank you, Donna. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank your husband as well, because I know he's the one that went to the store to get them. Thank you, guys. All right, so let's talk about Friday the 13th. Today is going to be fun because I'm going to be doing a little bit different type of a show here than normal. We're going to talk a little bit about superstitions and the number 13 and Friday the 13th. And then I'm going to tell you guys about the attic at our old place here in Pittsburgh. I know I have mentioned it from time to time. Longtime subscribers remember referring to it as the serial killer room. It was actually where we kept all of our inventory. But I'm going to go into more detail about that. And as we're going through the show, if you guys have any gross, spooky, scary horror stories about reselling, feel absolutely free to share them in the comments, and I will pin them and read them as we go along so everybody's stories can get shared. Hello, Sherry. So the fear of the number 13 actually dates back to religious times. Judas, who is the apostle that betrayed Jesus, was the 13th apostle. And he betrayed Jesus on a Thursday night at the Last Supper before Good Friday. So over time, that has just become synonymous of Friday the 13th being unlucky or unholy of a day. But there's also in Norse mythology, let me see, I have a link here. There is a thing in Norse Norse mythology about Loki coming to a dinner. Here it is. Loki was the 13th guest to appear at a dinner party in Valhalla, and he upset the balance of the 12 gods already in attendance and then betrayed them. And then there's the Last Supper I already discussed with you. And the Friday is because of Good Friday. Also, there is this theory that 12 is a perfect number. So the numeral system, the calendar system, so many systems are based on the number 12 that the number following it is unlucky. Although they have baker's dozens. I don't understand that theory, but that is one theory that mathematicians and scientists have, that there is a predominant number of things in the world that relate to or circle around the number 12. So 13 is seen as unlucky. There also is an early myth surrounding the origin of the fear involved in one of the world's oldest legal documents. The Code of Hammurabi, which was one of the first rule books or law books ever in existence, had omitted the 13th law. And so as it was passed down back in those days, this was a long time ago when people were superstitious and didn't have a lot of science to back them up. Oh, well, if this 13th law is missing, 13 is an unlucky number. And that's just kind of how it came to be. Although they did say that reportedly later on, it was found that it was not omitted. It was a typo, and 13 was just accidentally left out. 13 is mostly a superstition in the Western construct. Ancient Egyptians actually saw 13 as a lucky number. And in Asia, the number 4 is what they avoid. So you know how we have buildings that have entire 12 to 14. They don't have a 13th floor. We have buildings in America that completely forget the 13th floor. You won't have a 13th apartment or a 13th door number or whatever. In Asia, they will have places missing the number 4 because that is what their superstitions relate to, is the number 4. So 13, they're saying, is mostly like an American Western construct. I'm in the wrong window. There we go. The bins in Arizona are spooky. So the fear of the number 13 is one of my favorite words to say, so I'm going to say it. It's triskaidekaphobia. That is the fear of the number 13. The fear of Friday the 13th, I have a little harder time pronouncing. So triskaidekaphobia is the fear of the number 13. And there are people who actually have a phobia of the number 13. And there are people who have a phobia of Friday the 13th.
Paraskevia.
I guess I should
fear
look
of
the
Friday
camera.
the 13th.
The mic.
Paraskevia.
Paraskevia decatriophobia. There you go. Isn't 14, 13, and 5-4 then? I'm just going off of this one. I'm going to show you. I found this one History Channel website that I used for a little bit of research. Back when I used to work in activities in nursing homes and group homes, we used to do little fun things on holidays. So I had done some research on Friday the 13th years ago. Triskaidekaphobia. Anyway, 13 is a really lucky number for me. It always has been. I don't know if it's just because of who I am, and I love horror movies, and I love all things horror and superstitions, and I'm totally interested in that stuff in history. I love Salem. I love witches. But 13 has always been a really good number for me. And Friday the 13th is typically a great day for me. In fact, my oldest son, who is now 22, his first birthday was a Friday the 13th. Growing up, I had a very superstitious grandmother, and she actually liked Friday the 13th, which didn't make sense, but you know, she did the whole black cats can't cross your path. You can't walk under a ladder. You can't walk, if you're walking with somebody and you walk around the pole, that was bad luck. She was very superstitious. But Friday the 13th was always a good day for her. She liked it. And she had one of those little troll dolls. He had green hair and a yellow shirt, and he was her good luck charm. And she carried him around on Friday the 13th to ward off the evil. And then she said she always had the best day. So yeah, I've just always liked Friday the 13th. I've always thought they were fun. The history behind it, the superstitions. And it's a holiday for me. I like to celebrate it. I'm also a huge horror movie fan. So clearly I do a movie marathon and we watch Friday the 13th and order pizza. And it's a whole big deal at our house. The holiest of holy Friday the 13th happens in October, and there will be one of those this year. So we will have a really cool live show then. So that said, I have a couple of stories here of my own that I'm going to share with you. But if you have a horror story, something specific, something gross, whatever that's happened to you as a reseller, you can share it in the comments. But I'm going to talk first about our old attic. I got to get comfortable for this. Let me get a sip of soda. I am having, ta-da, I usually like Coke or Pepsi Zero. Keith likes the Dr. Peppers, and that's what we have. And they're not bad. I don't drink a lot of soda, but it's Friday. Okay, so we used to live in this huge Victorian house. And it was really old. In fact, it was right up the road from the original Heinz house here in Pittsburgh. If you didn't know, the Heinz ketchup, the Heinz company was started here. The family is originally from here, and their original house is here. And it has been kept in pristine condition. It's actually turned into apartments now, but our old Victorian house was, Dr. Pepper's not bad. Keith likes it. I'll drink it. So the Victorian house was huge, like plantation-sized mansion. And the original house was actually split into 4 apartments. But each apartment was as big as a house. So we had one of those. That's where we lived. And we had technically 4 floors. And 4 bedrooms. I mean, it was big. So even when they split it up, it was pretty large. So when you came in the front door, you were in this vast, huge foyer that really had no purpose except for being empty space. And then you would go up the stairs, and there were hallways. When you came upstairs, there was hallways leading off and doors that actually led into the living room, a door into the kitchen. It was kind of the strangest layout I've ever seen, but it was what it was. It was kind of neat. And there was a lot of like little small hallways that would go off into places and little rooms. And like I said, you had to go through doors, but there was like 2 doors into the living room and 1 off of the living room into the bedroom. Yes, Bill and Dave have been there when they came out to visit when we lived there. So they've been there, they've seen it. And then the third, so that was the second floor. So technically we lived on the second floor. That was where our main bedroom, kitchen, living room, eBay room, and all that were. And then it had an attic. And the attic, half of it was finished, which was one of the bedrooms, and the other half was unfinished. So that was strange as well. The one half that was finished had the carpeting and the nice windows and everything. And our landlord installed an air conditioner up there and everything. That was my eBay room at one time. And then across the hall from that was the unfinished. And that was a huge attic. The bedroom was normal sized, and there was a little hallway leading from it to the unfinished part. But that was like half of the house, like the whole house, like half. It was big, right? And then there was a basement and a yard. It was pretty decent for what it was. So the unfinished part of the attic was where we kept our inventory. So when I say eBay room, I mean office or a place where I listed and took photos. That was originally up in the finished section of the attic. And then later I came down and sanctioned off half of the living room for myself. But I didn't like being up there in the attic, okay? Because the unfinished section was crazy nuts scary. So there were like armoires in there, or wardrobes, whatever you want to call them, huge closets that had doors that opened like this. And they were just in there. And not stapled. They weren't stapled. I'm sorry. They were like built into the wall, or like somehow fashioned to the wall. And one of them, when you opened it, had like a seat in there. And then it had a hole where you could look down into the living room and wave at people. I'm not kidding. We did put a board over that. But you would open it and there's a hole. And then there was a seat. And then on the insides of this wardrobe, there were scratches and claw marks. And I'm telling you, the board that was in there, I really think somebody was kept inside this wardrobe as a punishment, and there were scratches, and the seat was there for a reason. Also, there was a little section of the unfinished attic that had like a old school desk. And then in the wall, these were wooden walls or planks or whatever you want to call them. In the wall near the school desk were names and dates carved into the walls. The word help was in several places. The words save us were carved into the wall. Help, names, dates, dating back to like 17 and 1800s. There were scratches and cuts and slashes. There were, when we moved in, there was like a board, like what you put in the garage to hang your tools on. One of those was on the wall, and hanging from it was like rolls of barbed wire. I don't even know what that was about. I don't want to know what that was about. But I'm telling you, between the wardrobe it had chains on it too. I should have told you that. So the wardrobe with the handles had these thick chains wrapped through it when we first moved in. Between that, like the ability to chain it closed, and that there was a seat inside and a hole dug out in the bottom and scratches, that was crazy enough. But the fact that all over the attic, just help, save us, we're going to die in here, just crazy stuff was carved into the wall. And that school desk, I'm like, I don't know what to think. Like, did somebody legitimately hold people against their will up in this attic? Did they use it as an old schoolroom? Were bad kids put there? I don't know. But something happened there. Something went down, because people don't carve stuff like that in the walls just for fun. Maybe they do. I don't know. But I really think that something went down in that attic, in that house. Something happened. It made weird noises all the time, and you would see things out of the corner of your eye. I'm not saying I'm not crediting or discrediting the existence of spirits and ghosts, but I am going to tell you there were a lot of weird noises in that house. And when you went up to the serial killer room at night, it was very scary, and I didn't like to go up there alone even during the day. And there were times when you would catch things out of the corner of your eyes. And there were times when I would be home alone. For sure, Keith was not home. And I would see somebody walk behind me, like in a reflection of the TV or something, and there was nobody there. So that is the story of the serial killer room. It had a lot of history to it. It was an old Victorian house, and clearly at some point, probably way back when, it was probably just a school room where kids went to learn or something, and they put their names in the walls. But of course, I gave it a nefarious story, and then I started calling it the serial killer room. Hey, look at you. I haven't seen you in a minute. Welcome in, Kelly. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. So I'm going to go through the comments a little bit. Rhonda and Amelia say that last June we had a lot of rain all of a sudden and our basement flooded. 80% of over 5,000 listed items stored in the basement. Totes that were floating and totes that were full. Oh no! Totes were full of water and floating, and you lost $4,000 of inventory. Oh no, that's terrible. That is a horror story. That is definitely a horror story of a different kind. Um, I'm going to ask if you had insurance. You don't have to answer. Just because, just recently, if you guys follow Sell Quick, Ship Quick on Instagram, Hugh and Tiffany, I really like them. They had a flood, and Hugh was talking about how he was so glad they didn't even have to use it, but they had business insurance on the, and he did a bunch of posts on Instagram about it. It is kind of a good idea because of stuff like that. You never know what's going to happen. I am so sorry that happened to you. That's awful. 5,000, and you are back up to 2971. So at least you're getting back up there. And yeah, List Perfectly is pretty amazing. I love scary stories. I watch stuff Home Alone all the time. Keith he's not really into horror movies so much, so I watch him alone by myself while he's in another room doing video games or whatever. And he goes out with his dad every Thursday, Thursdays is when I used to see things walking around that house, I'm telling you. And I'll sit in the dark and I'll watch horror movies by myself. But then when he comes home, if I don't hear the car or hear the key and he just like appears in the room and I don't know that he's home, then he scares me and I'm like, I didn't know you were here. I startle easy. That's what I should say. I don't get scared easily, but I do startle very easily. And I have a tendency to really focus on what I'm doing. And I also have a tendency to space out. So if I'm in the kitchen and I'm cooking, I'm focused on cooking, I'm just in my own world, you could walk up behind me and go, hi, and I'll be like, ah! Yeah, I'm very easily startled. Just because I lose myself and I just get into my own world. Hey, you, welcome in. I haven't seen you since Charlotte. How's it going? Met a lot of great people at FlipCon in Charlotte. Hey, Sunshine Diana, welcome in. Thank you for joining me. I'm glad that you're here. Dawn. So right before I came on here live, I did host a listing party for List Perfectly. True Crime and List. That's going to be a reoccurring event on Fridays as well, guys. Dawn had said that he doesn't watch scary movies because he's home alone all the time. Hey, Christy, welcome in. Welcome in. So you guys keep those stories coming. Oh, I love you too. We'll have to catch up. Keep the stories coming. I got a couple more to tell you. So I don't have too many gross stories, thankfully. I've heard some horror stories. In fact, on Halloween, List Perfectly did a show of horror stories about reselling. And Clara told the story about going to the bins and reaching in and there was a wet diaper or a poopy diaper. I can't remember which because I was freaking out. So that's a good horror story. I saw a couple of people talking about it. I personally did not see the rates because I do not use Macari shipping. I never have. I have been telling people for years that I think it's entirely too pricey. It's too high. People disagree with me. But there you have it. I use Pirate Ship. So we just build the cost of shipping into our price on Macari and ship it ourselves. And we print our labels in Pirate Ship. So I did not notice that the rates went up because I always click ship on my own. But I did hear that it did. And by the way, Pirate Ship is really cheap. And they're not going to raise their rates. I did a video on that. So if any of these platforms rates get too high, you can always do your labels on Pirate Ship. And you don't have to be a member. There's no subscription or anything. They give like a 60-some% discount. And you can just put the tracking number in. So, Christy, that's someone else I met in Charlotte. I just sold the small Slimer from Ghostbusters. Made $5 for a random free toy. That's awesome. It was only half with pegs on the back. A random free toy. Doug says, I have seen stuff and heard stuff. Had a house several years back that was very haunted. So he is a believer. I believe in ghosts as well, and hauntings and energy and all that good stuff. I'm pretty sure that my old house was haunted. No. Was it a private message?
Friday the 13th.
Because probably not. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up while we're on here. It's Friday the 13th. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, I didn't really ever encounter too much gross stuff, like real horror stories. There was one time at the bins, I stuck my hands in and I was digging around, and everything was wet. It was just so gross. Okay, I'm reading it now, and it's you're simplifying something, so I'll have to answer you. I'll have to write you back because it's not as cut and dry as the question is. Okay, so Laura, I will get back to you. Okay. So, all the stuff was wet. That was gross. There was one time we went to the bins, and they brought out this one bin that had this hunting jacket in it. And that hunter must have been a smoker, because the smell of smoke on that jacket was so overpowering. It made the entire, the bins is usually one big open room. The whole room stunk like smoke, like bad. Like, I don't know if this guy was like smoking a pack all at once with 20 in his lips. I don't know. But those are like the two of the stories I thought about the bins, just all the wet clothes and then the smoke. And I had just recently quit smoking. And for all you non-smokers that think smoked smell is disgusting and gross, I think it's even worse for former smokers. It's overwhelmingly choking, and you can really smell it. Don says, I had a large house in Ohio years ago that had 3 floors. Top floor was an old servant's quarters. I used to plant seeds and started my spring flowers up there. That's cool. Yeah, there were weird rooms in that house. Like I said, there were hallways that went off and these small rooms. I think they must have been servant quarters at one time. Heating it with a kerosene heater, went down to the 2nd floor and quickly returned to a fire. Somehow a candle ended up on top of the heater. Don't know how it got there. Your ghost put it there, Don. You have a ghost. Ghost. I just made a sale. All right, so no real gross stories from me. I just get grossed out anyway. Like, you guys know that. Okay, so this one time I was on a live show. Now, I should preface this with I am terrified of spiders. Like, arachnophobia. Seriously a phobia. I am terrified of spiders. I cannot look. Just talking about them and thinking about them, I start to itch, right? I just itch. I can't stand them. I think they're 8 legs of evil from hell. That's what a spider is. They are evil. They have 8 legs. They're just, and you know what? If they're outside and they're in there, then they can be out there because that's nature. But I don't like them when they come in my house. It really bothers me. And they're just nope. So this one time I'm on a live show, right? And one was crawling up the wall back here behind the laptop. This was at the place we lived at in Florida. And it wasn't too big of one. It was, and Keith says I tend to exaggerate. When I see a spider that's that big, I'm like, oh my God, not big. But remember too, I grew up in Arizona, so I know what a big spider looks like. Anyway, it was crawling up the wall, And I only had like, I think 5 or 10 minutes left of the live show. So the thought process, as I'm still talking and trying to focus on what I'm saying in the show and watching the spider crawl up the wall, my thought process is, do I scream and freak out? Because that's what I initially wanted to do, like I always do, and cry and call for Keith and put the show on hold? Or do I just power through the last 5 or 10 minutes until the end and then call Keith in to get the spider? And that's what I did. And no one ever knew. Like, I told friends after the show, was I weird at the end? Was I being funky? And they're like, well, no, you were just kind of like looking. I'm like, because there was a spider crawling up the wall and I was literally shaking and terrified and so scared it was going to like come off the wall and land on the desk or get on me. But as long as I could see it, kept my eyes on it, I was okay. And that was horrible. I should have just told people there's a spider, but I don't like to interrupt my live shows. You know, there was another live show a couple of years ago when we were at the old Victorian house, and something went down with the neighbors, and the police were going and knocking on everybody's doors to see who had heard what or if anybody had seen anything in accordance to whatever had happened with the neighbors. And I was on the live show and I heard pound, pound, pound. It's the police. And I just kept talking and pointed, and I made my son answer the door so that I didn't have to interrupt my live show. And I guess the police said, is your parents home? And he's like, yeah, but she's doing a live show right now. The show must go on, right? Tammy's afraid of spiders too. I saw okay, that's gross. That's disgusting. I won't even, like, I throw them away and buy new ones when I move, which is often, as you guys know. In fact, actually, I don't even use toilet. Okay, so we all know I'm a germaphobe. I'll tell you guys a little something. I don't use a typical scrubbing brush for the toilet, because you put it in the toilet and then you put it in that thing, and that is disgusting to me. I mean, they say even if you don't shut the lid before you flush, you're putting germs in the air. So I can't. So I buy the ones that are disposable, and if it's bad for the environment, I really apologize, but that's all I can do. I have to buy the it's a little stick, and you put a new one on each week, and you clean it and you throw it away. That's some horror stories for you there, the germs in the air. I watched The Shining for the first time during a huge storm in my house on the Pacific coast. I was alone and got so scared. I ran to bed and laid there hiding with the covers. Oh, oh, The Shining is it can be scary. I tend to be a snob and compare it to the book, which I shouldn't do because it's its own thing. So Mandy, 3 of Hearts, says, I started picking up plush a few years ago, and one of the first things I found was a jelly cat that was going for around $50. My dog pulled it out of the bag and ate it. No! Oh, man. And your dog couldn't have ate one that would sell for $12, right? It had to eat the $50 jelly cat one. I killed a hunter spider in my parents' house with a broom, and they kind of live in the woods. Mm-hmm. The worst spider. This is not an exaggeration, okay? Tarantulas in Arizona, I swear to God, can get so big they dent your car. Maybe that's an exaggeration. Maybe you really couldn't dent your car. But they get really big, right? And when I came home from one of my friend's house, when I was like maybe 11 or 12, there was one on the porch in front of the front door. I could not get inside the house because it was right in front of the door, and I wasn't going to go around it. So I just started yelling for my dad, and he comes out and almost steps on it, and it was so big he had to kill it with a shovel. And I don't want to relive that. Maybe that's where my fear of spiders stems from. Also, one time, a long time ago, someone stepped on one in my house. It was in my living room, and We had friends over and there was a spider and I'm freaking out. One of our friends is like, oh, we know how you are. We'll get it. And they stepped on it. Well, apparently she had babies. So they stepped on the one spider and just hundreds of them went everywhere. Tammy, when I lived in Florida, I lived on the second floor with parents and brother. His wife lived on main level. I had to save them. They trapped in their room with jumping aggressive spider. I shouldn't laugh. I should not laugh because some spiders are very jumpy and very aggressive. And there was a time when I got on top. Yes, we are doing reseller nightmare stories and other things too. So put yours in there and I'll read it out. So there was a time in my early 20s with my first husband. There was a wolf spider. We lived in North Carolina at the time. There was a wolf spider and it was jumping. And so I got on top of the kitchen counter and I stayed there for 7 hours till he came home from work and could save me. No shame. I do not like spiders. Nope. I don't like them. They're gross. They're pineapple. No. And I do watch Arachnophobia, but I sit there and scratch. So I don't watch that one often. Sherry says, I 100% agree. Yeah, the smoke smell, when you are a former smoker, like at first, when you're first trying to quit, you're like, oh, what is that delectable smell? And it tempts you to start smoking again. But to me, it's so horrible, gross now. And I can really, really smell it on people. Well, spiders used to be all over the church camp when I was a kid. We had black widows. We would go visit my dad's grandparents, and my dad's dad was a preacher. And so we would go to the church camps and stuff in the summer when we stayed up there. And the area of Oregon that they lived in just had so many black widows. You had to be super careful. Super careful. So doing it wrong. Yeah, if you have a story to share, go ahead and share it. We've just kind of been sharing the scary stories. It could be about reselling or not. It's cool to kind of get off topic once in a while. We still have about a half an hour left of the show. So I want to pull a winner for List Perfectly towards the end. Remember, I do pull one every week. So as long as you comment, you have a chance to win your free month of List Perfectly. And you can already be a user. So you can be brand new to List Perfectly and try it out free for a month, or you can be a current user. As long as you're in the chat participating, you can still win. You just get a free month off of paying your bill for List Perfectly. So while we wait for some more stories to come in, I am going to address racing to the bottom. So this has been an issue lately, and I actually have addressed it pretty hard in a couple of my What Sold videos lately. Those will be coming out later this week. And I thought about it because they talked about it again on the List Perfectly live show as well. Here's the thing. Since I have a little bit of time here to spare and I can talk to you guys. Here's the thing. The cost of everything is going up. Why would that mean you need to lower your prices? I understand people have this mentality that if everything else is going up, no one is shopping, so I have to lower my prices because no one has money to spend on my items. But that's not the answer. You need to make your money, okay? So the answer isn't to lower your prices. This is a job. And you have to treat it as such, and you have to treat it as a business just like the rest of the world is, who are all raising their prices. So lowering your prices isn't the answer. Can you run sales and do offers? Yes. But don't lower the prices, which over time will lower the value of brands. I mention it all the time, but in the 6 years that I've been selling, I have seen hundreds of brands that used to be bolos and luxury brands and sell for tons of money just not even be worth sourcing anymore. If it's 99 cents, you leave it on the rack. And that's what happens. So price things at what they're worth, and you can run sales. If your sales are very slow and you're very desperate for sales, don't go in and knock all your prices down 50% and trash the whole market on brands. Run a sale. Turn best offers on. You know? So that being said, I am going to be addressing this race to the bottom a lot more aggressively in upcoming videos as far as perceived value, the cost of goods, and everything. So I just wanted to mention it today real quick because it's happening and it shouldn't be. Stop it. All right, doing it wrong. Sold a set of Erewhon Wedgwood Blanc Sur Blanc for $100 in October. USPS broke the $40 cup and refunded the customer. Refund is currently second appeal under review in January. Ugh, yeah. So the USPS is certainly known for taking a long time. I ship breakables via UPS no matter what now. Can't blame you if they have a better track record for you. Laura says, the year before last year, I drove to North Carolina. My uncle found an empty box full of... Nope! Can't read that out loud! Oh! Empty box full of black widows under the house. A box full! Well, we all know what Star's going to have nightmares about tonight, and it won't be Jason. Yeah, wolf spiders jump. They're like aggressive. I don't even know how you dealt with that. No, thank you. No, thank you. Yay! Nice hubby. Hey, welcome in, PJJ. Welcome in. I'm glad that you're watching my videos and learning. List Perfectly is certainly a very useful tool for all of us as resellers. It certainly made a huge difference in our business, and I don't even know if I could go back to pre-List Perfectly times at this point because their templates and taking the photos and the catalog and the management, all of List Perfectly's abilities are so ingrained into my business processes now. I don't know that I can work without them, to be honest. Doug says, in the one house, we had an investigator and medium come in after a giant handprint appeared on the wall over where my wife sleeps. When looking around, they knocked on the wall 3 times. And something knocked back 3 times. The last time I was there, I was going to walk upstairs and heard 3 loud bangs from our old room. I left. That's really... Scary isn't the word because that stuff really intrigues me and interests me more than scares me. If you put me in a house and said, this house is haunted and there's ghosts, I'm like, hey, yay, let's talk to them. Let's be friends. Can we be friends? Christy says, I have an item I swear I dropped off at UPS and I didn't get a receipt. The note, always get a receipt. Yeah, you've got to get that receipt. For those that are in the camp of, I don't have time for that. You know what you really don't have time for? You don't have time for the day that you sell 20 items, drop them off, they don't get scanned, and you get so many defects on eBay that it affects your selling, and then you can't pay your bills. That's what you don't have time for. Tough love. Mimi's treasure had a spider follow me from one side of the living room to the other for several hours. I climbed from chair to couch and back. Oh my gosh. Did you do this? That's so something I would do. Did you yell at it too? Because I would have been on top of the couch, like throwing shoes and get out of my house. You're not welcome here. Go. Get out. I just opened the door for them and left. Yeah. No, thank you. No. No spiders for me. Yes, Doug, please do. Please do. That stuff interests me. Like I'm telling you, you could drop me in a graveyard at midnight on Friday the 13th during the solstice and be like, there's ghosts here. And I would be like, oh my God, are we spending the night? Can we all be friends? I love that stuff. Don't let shipping places convince you. Yes, you need your receipt. You do. And there are post offices that tell you they don't have to. They do. If you ask for one, they have to provide it. Period. Yes. Ghosts? Yes. Watching hours of true crime and hearing about people being murdered? Absolutely. Watching hours and hours of horror movies in the dark alone in the house and going to bed right after? Fine. I'll watch Psycho and go take a shower. That doesn't bother me. I don't like spiders and I don't like bees. Bees are worse than spiders. I'm just going to put this out there now that you guys have me talking about my phobias. Because at least most spiders, some spiders are really fast and they jump. But most spiders, like that one on the wall, as long as you can keep your eyes on the spider, you know where it's at. Bees, they're fast. They have wings. They fly. No. Nope. I would rather go to a graveyard in the middle of the night with Michael Myers than have to deal with one spider. Don says he has been on list perfectly since the end of October and am quickly becoming dependent. Yes, it's easy to become dependent. And dependent is that word has like a negative connotation. It's easy to integrate list perfectly into all of your business processes because it makes everything so easy. You can even add different footers or text into your description boxes on different platforms. You set it up one time and List Perfectly does it for you. It's amazing. Christy says, I think hubby, I sent hubby and told him he didn't have to. Yep, you guys don't get your receipts. Now, I will say, I don't get receipts, but my girl picks them up. So we schedule a pickup and Sam gets them every day. She's real good about her job. I get an email. I can actually hear her out there dinging and I'll go say hi. Sometimes I'll bring her a water or a drink. But I can hear her dinging and then I get the email that they've been checked in. So that to me is good. But if I have to go to the post office, which we used to do where we used to live in Pittsburgh here, we were within walking distance, like 2 blocks. So we would walk our packages down every day just for exercise. I stood in line and I got a receipt. People pay parcel select and add 80 cents for insurance and then print the label on pirate ship if it's fragile. I use UPS rare to have US. Yes, I agree with all of that. Doug says he will drop me in the graveyard and pick me up. And you won't stay with me. You won't stay in the graveyard with me, Doug. Come on, we can do gravestone rubbings and seances and Ouija boards. I did too, Dawn. I think it's because I was an only child and a little loopy, but who knows? Yes, UPS does accept USPS, and they're usually pretty nice in there. I thought you said beanies. No, I'm afraid of bees. That's called apophobia, by the way. So I have arachnophobia and apophobia, but not triskaidekaphobia because I love the number 13. Tammy says her other spider story. When I was working, I got home late and my husband was sleeping. So I tried to go in the master bathroom, shut the door and turn on the light. And there was a spider hanging from the ceiling. I swear it was as big as a football, but probably a baseball. Let's just say my husband wasn't sleeping anymore. Listen, Tammy, if I came in a room and a spider as big as a baseball was hanging from the ceiling, not only would Keith be awake, but people 4 streets over. I might even call 911. That's an emergency. That's an emergency, and I need some kind of people here to assist me. I have Ouija stories too. See, I'm the same, Doug. I'm skeptical, but I've had some experiences and I've had things happen. That could be a whole other show. But List Perfectly is better than cheesecake. What's the fear of apes then if I don't know. Let's look it up. Let's go over to Google. What do you call the fear of apes? Pithecophobia. It's pithecophobia. But look, I'm not kidding. It's apophobia. Apophobe. Apophobe is an inordinate fear of bees. So it's apophobia if you're afraid of bees. But if you're afraid of monkeys, it is pithecophobia. Phobias are fun to say. I like saying phobias. They're not fun to have, and I would never make fun of somebody with a phobia. But triskaidekaphobia, that is so fun to say. Love bees, live on a farm, taking beekeeping classes, and hope to have honeybees. Oh, I would have loved that because I do love honey. I can't be around bees. I can't. They just terrify me. They're fast. They can go somewhere before you can see them go, and they buzz and they have stinger. No, I actually, you guys, I do actually have a solid, definite reason why I am afraid. I'm afraid of all wasps, bees, hornets, yellow jackets, all of those. When I was about 5 years old, there was a wasp nest. You guys know what a carport is? Anybody from Arizona in the chat know what a carport is? Dawn? They don't really have garages in some of the houses, the older houses when I was growing up in like the 80s and 90s. They had carports. So it's like an open walled garage. It just had a roof and you would drive under it. So these wasps, I think they were hornets or wasps. They had built this nest in the carport. And my dad was at work, so the car wasn't there. My mom was working nights at the time, so she was inside napping. I went outside to play. And I somehow upset the nest. I can't remember. I was 5. I remember the feel of them up my nose and in my mouth and in my ears, surely, but I don't remember what I did to upset them, whether I like hit a ball against the wall or threw a rock or was just loud or running. But the entire nest just aggressively came out and swarmed my head, and they were in my nose, my eyes. They went in my mouth. They stung me in my throat. They were in my ears. They were inside of all of my clothes. And I was just like maybe 6. I was 5 or 6 years old, and it hurt and it was scary. And I was a kid. And so I did the worst thing you could do, which was to swat and scream and roll and yell and run, and made it all worse. I ended up in the urgent care. My mom was an RN, thankfully, but so she was able to stabilize it and get me to the hospital where both my parents worked, actually. But that, I am terrified of them. I'm terrified of them ever since then. And that's a good reason, you know? And then, you know, fast forward years later, I was like 10 years old on a picnic in Oregon with my dad's parents, and a big fat bumblebee had gotten into my soda and I didn't know it. And when I picked it up, took a drink, the bee got in my mouth, panicked, and stung me inside my mouth. And that was the second time in my life. It wasn't a whole swarm, but it was the second time in my life I'd had a bee in my mouth that stung me. So terrified of them, terrified. I can't. As far as the fear of spiders, I don't really have a tangible reason for that or a memory or anything. I just remember, you know, the big spider on the porch when I was a kid. And there was big tarantulas that would get in our house. And I just, Michelle says, of course you're terrified. Yeah. I mean, I was swarmed. I can't be near them at all. On the garage door in Florida, the wasps would build a nest and they just kept coming back. And if there was just even one near the door, I couldn't go in to get the inventory. Not even one. I cannot do it. Oh, Lori, thank you so much. She says, listening to you always makes my day, even when I'm telling horror stories. Tarantula wasps are no joke. No. I don't like any of it. I don't even like flying ants. Nothing with wings. All right, you guys want to pick a winner? Let's pick a winner. Ready? And drum roll, please. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. And Mimi's Treasures! Mimi's Treasures! Yay! You are the lucky winner this week of 1 free month of List Perfectly. Send me your email in a private message on Facebook or Instagram, and then I will email Tiffany with you CC'd on the email and get you in touch with her, and she will get you set up. Congrats, Mimi. 1 free month of List Perfectly. If you're not using Pro, upgrade for the month. Try it out for sure. Next door to my parents. Am I cutting off part of a story? I am. Sorry. Okay. Mom Pa says mice is one of my biggest fears. We moved to a new house and I was rocking the baby and I looked over to the couch and saw a mouse tail between the couch and the wall. I screamed and grabbed walked the boys next door to my parents and sat in their living room until my husband came home. When he got home, it was still there. It was just a cord. I'm sorry, and I'm not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. That is hilarious. That is hilarious. It was just a cord. You're absolutely welcome, Mimi's Treasures. Just don't forget to give me your email, and I will get you in contact with Tiffany probably by Monday. I'm really bad about checking messages on the weekend. Transparency, honesty. You guys know I work hard all week and love to take my weekends off. So, but that court story, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I keep saying I'm sorry, and I'm not. I'm not sorry at all. You thought it was a mouse. And I have to tell you, the rodents are my favorite. I used to have pet mice and pet rats, and their tails were my favorite part of them. I would just touch them, and they would curl them around you like little monkey tails. I loved the rat tails and the mice tails. I love hamsters and guinea. I love rodents. All of them. They're so cute. All right, Mimi, don't forget to email me. Everyone else, thank you for joining me today. Thanks for all the participation. That was really fun. Like, so many of you were in the comments sharing your stories. And whether it was reselling related, ghost, Ouija boards, bugs, snakes, mice, these were all really great, fun stories. You know, this is a reselling channel, but yeah, sometimes you just got to have fun. It's Friday the 13th. It's a Friday hangout. We all had fun. So I just wanted to thank everyone for showing up, listening to me talk about all of my scary stuff, and for sharing your experiences in the comments for me to share with everyone else watching. If you're watching this later on the replay, I do appreciate you coming back to watch the replay if you missed the live, but leave your stories down in the comments and I can read them and enjoy them as well. Thank you guys. You know what I'm going to say because I say it every Friday. Please take this to heart. You have to take time off for yourself. You are no good for yourself, your business, your family, your friends, or your pets if all you do is work. You have to find that balance. So please take some time off this weekend to do something fun, do something for yourself, do some self-care, spend some time with the family, the friends, the pets, and just take some time. Read a book, play a video game, watch a movie. Thank you, everyone that came in. I always tell you to go be productive and go make some money, but you know what? I'm going to tell you today, I'm running over bubble wrap, by the way. You hear it? But anyway, yeah, go self-care, go have fun. Happy Friday the 13th. Thank you so much for joining me again. You guys are the best. I'll see you next time. Bye. Toodaloo.